how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert, covering why massive Disney investor Nelson Peltz got impatient with Disney and Bob Iger. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. New article just came out in the Wall Street Journal. We covered this yesterday. The announcement that Nelson Peltz is going after Disney again, but they really weren't getting into why. After all the attention, the Wall Street Journal obviously followed up and found out why. They talked to Nelson Peltz's people. They talked to Disney's people. Interesting stuff in here. From the Wall Street Journal, why Nelson Peltz grew impatient with Disney's turnaround efforts. Activists add shares while the company plans changes to ESPN and Hulu. Nelson Peltz said his proxy fight against Disney was over in February 2023. But Bob Iger knew the activist investor might return. Yes, because the guy spent $1 billion buying shares in Disney. And if the shares don't wind up increasing in value, you're going to hear from that investor. Peltz and the Disney CEO remained in direct contact this year, and Iger sought to reassure him that Disney's $5.5 billion in budget cuts and elimination of 7,000 jobs were progressing quickly. When we covered this months ago, that's one of the things I was implying, that it looked like Iger basically just said, okay, Mr. Peltz, fine, we will lay people off even though I don't want to. We'll cut those expenses just like you want to. Now leave us alone. And that's kind of what happened. But the stock price is still not doing well. That's the problem. Iger spoke to Peltz, co-founder of Trian Fund Management, on the phone in May after Disney's second quarter earnings report, in which the company reported that it reduced losses in its streaming business and tried to reassure him that the cost-saving plan was working. It's very hard to fool Nelson Peltz because he's been involved with cost-cutting and restructuring and investing in companies since the 1980s. So whatever Bob Iger is telling him, he's not going to be convincing Nelson Peltz unless Peltz sees the actual results. Exaggerating and lying to Peltz is not going to work. As the share price declined over the summer, however, the Trian team lost confidence in Disney's ability to right the ship, even as the company's board in July extended Iger's contract through 2026. When Wall Street analysts began reducing their targeted price for Disney shares, it caught Peltz's attention and contributed to his sense that Disney wasn't on a path to financial health. The company's stock closed at $78.32 last Wednesday, the lowest level in more than 9 years. Peltz is seeking several board seats, including one for Peltz, and wants the board to be more focused, accountable, and aligned with shareholder interests, the Wall Street Journal reported Sunday. It's one thing when Peltz said, hey, just put me on the board, I'll help out, I'll make suggestions from my point of view, and then Disney says no. Now Peltz is going for what looks like 3 board seats, which would be a lot of influence on the board, and while Disney will probably push back and still say, no, we won't let you on the board, this time, Peltz will spend the $100 million to push to get on the board. And he's not going to just trust Bob Iger saying, oh, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out in the next 5 to 10 years. Peltz wants to see results now. Disney shares, which have traded under $100 for most of the year, rose 2.1% to $84.70. On Monday, Peltz's Trian Fund Management has boosted its stake in Disney to around 30 million shares, making the hedge fund one of Disney's largest shareholders now. When Peltz was doing this the first time around, he had $1 billion invested in Disney. Now it's up to $2.5 billion. And yes, the stock was up, but it's kind of understood that the reason the stock was up was because Peltz made the announcement he's going for these board seats now. People are looking at it and saying, hey, this might actually work out if Peltz gets control of the board in a few months. Still a very risky thing. I would still stay away from Disney as any kind of investment. But if Peltz does get on the board, he will be controlling that board very soon. He's very aggressive. He's very smart. And Disney hasn't been running its business properly in years. Their focus has not been on what would make the most for shareholders or what would even be best for the intellectual properties. Iger has made progress with some of the stated goals to reduce costs and make streaming profitable, but struggled with others. Since announcing in July that the company is seeking a strategic partner for ESPN, the sports unit has held discussions with a range of organizations, including professional sports leagues and telecom providers. Elsewhere, an effort to fold Hulu into Disney Plus has been slowed by delays, according to people familiar with the matter. Some features designed to attract customers to a planned new Disney Plus and Hulu bundle won't be available when the Hulu title within Disney Plus debuts later this year. Well, that's a disaster. That's horrible mismanagement. They need to get that fixed because supposedly streaming is the future of Disney. At least that's what Disney and the analysts keep saying. There is no excuse for not having that put together and getting that technology moving. Overseas, Disney has begun to have discussions about selling all or a stake of its Disney India business, as the Wall Street Journal first reported. Iger in July said Disney's traditional TV assets, which include ABC and FX, may not be core to the company going forward, which was interpreted by many as hanging a for sale sign on them. And we've heard about some companies expressing some interest in buying Disney's ABC network and some of their cable channels, but none of that really moved anywhere. And it really kind of just sounded like Iger was just going in multiple directions at the same time, which shows there's no overall strategic vision that makes any sense. Here's an update on some of the initiatives Iger has so far set in motion. ESPN's future. ESPN has said it's preparing to transform the network into a fully direct-to-consumer streaming service in coming years. Meanwhile, Iger has taken steps to bolster ESPN's finances and attract new viewers, especially younger males. Okay, but at the same time, which is a major part of all this, ESPN Plus is already being distributed on 20% of Disney's cable systems. That's Charter Spectrum, where they offered to give them ESPN Plus, what looks like, for free. In addition to that, they've also promised that when they do a direct-to-consumer ESPN, they're going to allow Charter to distribute it, which means they already have a different structure for their streaming business, which is part direct-to-consumer and part wholesale, where they get it resold by the cable distributors. But do you see that as a focus of Disney? No, not at all. If Peltz was in there, within 30 to 90 days, you would hear a whole different strategic vision for Disney, and it would make common sense. The company has explored pacts with the NFL and National Basketball Association, in which the leagues would supply programming and assets in exchange for small equity stakes in ESPN, which I don't think is ever going to happen, because you don't see ESPN being well managed by Disney right now. Why would the NFL and NBA or any other sports league say, sure, we'll take a small minority interest where we have no control over what's going on, and we'll just give you all this programming content, and we'll let you have it exclusively, and we'll just see if things work out or not. They're not going to do that. In the case of the NFL, the league could contribute assets such as the NFL Plus subscription service, which has mobile rights to many games, while the NBA could contribute the NBA League Pass package, a subscription service that lets fans watch games outside their home markets. Such partnerships could help ESPN add even more programming to its new app, broadening its appeal. ESPN also has talked to Major League Baseball about a deal that would give them the right to stream local telecasts in some markets. Those talks are very early, the people cautioned, and might not go anywhere. I do not think they're going to go anywhere because the deals make no sense. Why would you sit in the back seat of Iger's vehicle as he drives it over a cliff? You're not going to do that if you can avoid it. Under any such arrangement, Disney, which owns 80% of ESPN, would maintain majority control, and Hearst, which owns 20%, would maintain its stake. So Hearst would give up 0 for this deal, and Disney would give up part of its 80% ownership of ESPN to try to make that deal. ESPN is also exploring adding a distribution partner to help market the new service, and has had talks with Verizon and T-Mobile. Hulu's got some problems. Iger said in February that Disney might not be interested in buying the remaining third of the Hulu streaming service it owns with Comcast, but months later reversed course and said it would pull the service closer to its core Disney Plus streaming service. Now listen to how silly this is. A plan to integrate Hulu into Disney Plus has hit road bumps and in April was delayed amid company-wide cost cuts and layoffs and a growing to-do list for the company's technology development teams. So Disney can't handle its technology needs, even the most basic technology needs. And when Bob Iger tells major investor Nelson Peltz, hey, good news, we're doing all those cost savings, it's going to work out great. What Peltz is not expecting to find out is that Disney, either intentionally or just because of bad management, is firing people that it actually needs so that it can implement its plan to get better distribution and better revenue and better use out of its direct-to-consumer streaming assets. The tech team working on integrating the streaming service into Disney Plus pushed the project deadline to the end of the year from September, the People said. Key features designed to attract new customers to its newly launched Hulu Disney bundle have been delayed until March. When the new Hulu title launches, it will not include all the content currently on the platform. Disney is still negotiating some licensing agreements for shows and movies. It also won't immediately offer some functionalities, such as personalization of Hulu programming based on a subscriber's past Disney Plus viewing as initially planned, which, is recommended viewing. And the value of recommended viewing is all you have to do is invest in the technology if you have the streaming service. You don't have to buy extra content and produce extra content that someone might like if you can intelligently suggest to them, oh, you might also like this. And it actually works. The technology is useful. It works for Netflix. Disney has gone a very long time with still not having that figured out for Disney Plus. It's really, really shocking, which is why they have to spend hundreds of millions, if not billions, to make additional content that might interest people just because they haven't figured out that small technology piece. Disney has projected that these features, as well as one that would prompt viewers to sign up for a new Hulu Disney Plus bundle, could draw as many as 150,000 subscribers to a new Hulu Disney bundle over the next year and potentially generate millions of dollars in new revenue. So why can't they just do that? Because they're not structured well. They're not organized well. There's no one person who's in charge of making that happen, apparently. Streaming profitability is a challenge. Disney, like its competitors, is struggling to balance the need to cut costs while growing its streaming services and realizing these two goals can run counter to each other. For Iger, who returned as CEO of Disney last November, being able to make the company's goal of streaming profitability by September 2024 is seen as crucial. Keep in mind, Warner Bros. Discovery has already made their streaming at least roughly break even. Profitable would be basically, as far as they're concerned at Disney, if it wasn't losing like $1 billion a year, if it was losing zero, but it was making zero, they would be thrilled. Maybe they should give the guys at Warner Bros. Discovery a call. In August, the company unveiled a round of price increases to its streaming products, raising the cost of the ad-free versions of Disney Plus and Hulu by more than 20% each in October, the second round of price hikes in about a year. The latest increase, which takes effect this month, was moved up from December. Among priorities for the streaming team, whose projects have code names after Disney characters such as Yoda for Yield Optimization Delivery Allocation, or Dory for Disney Optimization and Revenue Yield, are rolling out ads internationally and implementing ways to crack down on password sharing. Because even though Netflix has figured out password sharing and how to block that, Disney is trying to catch up to them and they still haven't figured that out. I don't know if Nelson Peltz is going to get on the board of Disney or not. I don't think Nelson Peltz knows. But I do think he's got a good chance of getting on that board. I would still stay away from Disney. I don't trust anything about Disney, especially until they start talking sense about making their intellectual properties and their brands fit what their consumers are actually looking for, not what they want to try to convert their consumers into liking. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.